Welcome to Buckets. I am your host, Brandon Anderson, here with Joe Dallaire, coming to you live from the Tommy John home studio. The season has tipped off on Tuesday. Every NBA team has played a game, half of a game for a couple teams. We're recording Thursday evening as we hit the second half of OKC Denver, Minnesota Sacramento, but every team's pretty much played a game. So we're going to react. What we're doing today is very simple. We went from 0 data on each team to 1 data on each team. And that is my favorite data point of the year. So we are doing one game, one takeaway, one betting takeaway for all 30 teams in under an hour, as always, as we do here on the Friday show. So pretty simple, about a minute, minute and a half for each team. Something Joe or I learned that we didn't know before the game, hopefully, that we think will impact the future. How we're thinking about the team for a prop, a player we want to play, a futures angle, just how we're thinking about the team night to night, just something we noticed in the box score, something we saw in the game as we watched. And of course, we're going to put the teams in some order, so have a little fun with it. So Joe, you and I did our 2024 NBA League Pass rankings. Wednesday was our first big League Pass night, so you pretty much know what you're getting here. These are the teams that we are the most excited to watch right now as the new season starts. We'll go 30-1. I ranked my 30. Joe ranked his 30. His were terrible. Mine were great. We put them together, made our composite rankings. That's our list. Joe, welcome. Who was the hardest team for you to rank? Was there a hard team? And what's been your favorite game watching so far?
Honestly, like some of the bad teams are hard to rank because you're just like, which team is the worst? But I think one of the games that I've really enjoyed watching so far was obviously like the Spurs. The Spurs played the Mavericks tonight. That was a pretty interesting game to watch. A lot of star power in that game. Klay Thompson on a new team. Just to get to kind of see how that meshed together. So that was definitely a fun game. And like honestly, like Boston, like I know they did it to my Knicks, but like man, like you watch them, they're so good. It's unbelievable. So that's been some of the good games to watch.
Yeah, I mean that's the opener too. So how you not going to get excited about the champs just coming on absolutely clobbering a good team and just hitting every shot in the world? So yeah, well we'll talk about all the games. We split the games up, so we kind of drafted them a little bit. So each of us is quote responsible for each one of the games. And so the other person may chime in a lot with another thought as well. Somehow, Joe, we put our teams in order. We split them up. We did our League Pass rankings. And somehow you got 11 of the top 14 League Pass teams. I got most of the drags down here at the bottom. So the good people listening are going to get more me at the beginning, more you at the end. So stay tuned. Don't worry. Joe's takes are coming.
That was the lawyering. That was the lawyer negotiating.
That's right. I got lawyered on that one real hard. Joe gave me a whole thing about I got a newborn at home. If you could just catch some of the earlier games, it's easier. Oh, yeah. Okay, great. The East games. You gave me the East games, all the teams we don't want to watch. So here we are. Speaking of teams we don't want to watch, tier 6 in our League Pass rankings, as I call it, the Michael Scott gift tier. Starting at the bottom, of course, number 30, the Washington Wizards. The team I projected to go 9-73 and then bet opening night plus 700 on the money line against the champs. We hung around for like a half. They did all right for a while. Jordan Poole made some shots. Here's what I noticed. They are in hard on the youth tank job. They started both rookies, Bob Carrington and Alex Sarr. They started Bilal Coulibaly. That's 3 dudes under 20 years old. And it looks like it. It's those 3, and it's Kuzma and Poole. That's the team we got. We're going to lose a lot of games. That's what I'm noticing here. This team doesn't really know how to dribble. They don't really know how to defend as a unit. Like, they just looked lost out there against the Celtics and just giving up freebie stuff a lot of the time. My takeaway beyond that, we kind of knew that already, but I'm feeling pretty good about my Washington under so far after one game. I wasn't necessarily expecting that Sarr would start, or maybe that he'd start at the 4. Jonas Valanciunas coming off the bench. I think Valanciunas is going to absolutely mash as a bench player, just coming in and doing all the stuff for them. Yet I think 18 tonight. That definitely feels like some overs, especially depending on the matchup. Think of who the other center is he's going to face off the bench. I think he could put up some big points, a double-double off the bench. Like he's going to produce in those minutes. So that to me is my takeaway. Do you catch any of Wizards, Celtics, anything on the Wizards?
I did, and they are really bad. They're bad. Like it's crazy too because the game was not even a blowout until like right before halftime, and it was like Jordan Poole played incredible to start the game. Like he had 17 points in the first quarter, and then it was just all downhill from there. So I don't know. I don't know who left the sideline or like the half court or whatever, but Jordan Poole lost all his powers by about halftime.
It happened. All right, number 29, the Brooklyn Nets, right there near you. I gave you the Brooklyn Nets. You gave me one name. Who was it?
So the Brooklyn Nets, it's time for Benjamin. Benjamin Simmons is back, dude. So to me, like it was interesting to be able to watch him play again. He played 24 minutes, was like instantly on triple double watch. Five rebounds, 8 assists, 6 points. Like you never know which, like the classic Draymond Green ish triple double type of stat line, right? But he looked pretty good out there. And the thing that was interesting about Brooklyn is they ran like a pretty deep rotation, actually. So I was a little surprised about that. It's going to be interesting to see how the minutes kind of come along and what like their goals are for the season, because I'm wondering if they're going to try to bolster some players, get them like some real minutes, maybe try to trade some players, build up some value, whatever, and see what lineup combinations work. But look, Simmons obviously is on a huge contract. The reason that I think it's important is like when he has been healthy, he has been an all NBA caliber player, like not just all-star, all NBA. And if that can, like, if he's healthy and they're like, hey, like, let's try to kickstart what we have going with him, awesome. Also, like, if he looks good and they can package that and ship that out for something, he's somebody that would be pretty versatile on a lot of different teams that maybe need like a little bit of a floor raiser off the bench or a defensive type of guy. So I've probably talked too much about the Brooklyn Nets, but he was the guy that I was interested to see. And I'm just endlessly surprised if Cam Johnson doesn't score like, I don't know, 50 points in any given night.
Well, I mean, Cam Thomas taking every shot out here, 36 on 27 shots to start the game and start the season out. I like Jalen Wilson too. Summer League MVP. Looked good. He looks like a real NBA player. Looks like he's ready to make an impact. Yeah, we can't go so long on number 30 and 29. I expect to get all of these in an hour. So let's keep it moving. Number 28, the Los Angeles Clippers. Wah, wah. They were our unanimous number 28. We both had them here. Here's my takeaway. At least the Intuit Dome is worth watching. Like the wall is pretty cool. The fans are pretty cool. The uniforms kind of suck. The logo, I don't know what we're doing. $70 parking fee? What the heck? I hope that I like the Intuit Dome looks fun. I hope that there are fun teams that come to town so then you can like enjoy a Clippers game. I don't really have much more takeaway than that. They defended pretty hard. They hung around. That's all I got for the Clippers. Do you see anything?
No, t-shirt toss looks sick though.
All right, tier 5, the Just Watch Cooper Flag tape. Number 27, the Portland Trail Blazers. They maybe should have been a tier down. Like, I don't know. It's rough. I don't know what Chauncey Billups is doing. I don't understand. You don't start Scoot Henderson. He's coming off the bench so that you can start Tamani Kamara. I don't know, like, what is the long-term plan? This is the franchise. This is the guy. You're supposed to be finding out what's there. I don't get that. I thought they had pretty bad effort. You know, they look good for like 5 minutes. They had 5 minutes of home effort, and they just kind of look lost. They gave up 38 assists to the Warriors. They shot 8 of 34 on threes. Both of those numbers are bad. That's not a modern offense. I just thought it did not look like an NBA team. And in the West, where so many teams are good and competitive, we knew the Blazers weren't going to be good. I think the Blazers are going to be really bad. And I thought they looked it pretty much immediately.
Yeah, they're going to be a team that is just going to be like, who is getting traded? Who is DeAndre Ayton talent blocking on that roster? So there's really no clear direction right there, and it's a little bit unfortunate.
Yeah, agreed. All right, number 26, the Miami Heat. Somehow stuck into this tier. Heat fans are going to love that. This is my team also. You got me stuck on the Heat Magic game that neither one of us really wanted. I took it. Kind of a big game, actually, right? Like, I think actually among the first game ones, this is a division game. These are teams that are expected to be pretty close in the standings. Given that, I thought this was actually one of the more disappointing game one performances. Like, my hopes for the Heat are not super high, admittedly, but They had an early lead at home. Franz is in foul trouble. Suggs in foul trouble. And then they just crapped out. Like, this is just the same old offense that does not feel like a playoff offense to me. They did not score a field goal for 9 minutes. Jimmy Butler made one shot. Bam Adebayo made one shot. Was not a three, by the way. He only took 5 shots all night. Jimmy Butler finishes with 3, 4, and 5. That's his line. 3 points, 4 rebounds, 5 assists. Like, what? This is a lifeless effort for a healthy game 1 team, rested home game against what's presumably your top division rival to get the division. And they trailed by 32 to Orlando, despite Orlando's offense not really playing that well. They shot under 43%. And Miami just can't score and keep up with that. That's not really something that we learned per se. That's a thing that's kind of carried around this team. I think that's why they're so low in our rankings. I don't know, man. We heard a lot of rumblings in the offseason about Butler not being happy and where this team is going. And I think we maybe held out some hope that maybe Bam, we'd get the Olympics Bam, and we did not see that a lot in the first game. I'm not feeling great vibes from the Heat. Are you feeling similar there?
The only thing I will say is that Orlando, I think there's like a pretty good consensus that Orlando's defense is top notch. So like
Yeah,
maybe
sure.
that's the issue here, but it definitely didn't feel good, especially for a team with like, that's Miami, right? That they're healthy, and that's been their thing. Everybody's like, we're never healthy. Like, just wait till we're healthy. And then it's
Yeah.
like, that was not great, especially coming off an off season where you have all your guys, like, you know who's going to be on the team. And then that you don't even put up 100 points.
Yeah, I agree. All right, number 25 is your team, the Utah Jazz. What'd you see?
So I thought the Jazz are going to be pretty feisty here. They played really well against the Memphis Grizzlies. Grizzlies obviously didn't have Jaren Jackson Jr., but Lauri Markkanen, bonkers game, 35 points, 9 rebounds. Walker Kessler looked excellent, 16 points, 14 rebounds in 30 minutes. That's been the big thing. We're like, why are you not playing Walker Kessler? Like, what's going on? And then they finally decided, hey, like, we're going to play him. Maybe, I think in part because of Edey, but we can't even really say it's because of Edey, because Edey fouled out in 15 minutes. So, like, Kessler was the guy. He was on the floor, and we saw guys like John Collins, Patty Mills, Sensabaugh, like, move all the way down kind of in the rotation. So I think I'm going to be interested in the Jazz. I think they're going to be a team that people are going to look at and say, like, they're not good, like, they're tanking, but like, they're not real. Like, it's not really certain that they're tanking, because we keep thinking they're tanking and then they don't. So like, they have their draft picks, they have a lot of assets, they have a lot of capital. We know Lauri can't be traded this year. I think that they're going to be trying just to see, like, maybe what pieces they want to build around long term. And then at that point, maybe that's when they go, all right, like, maybe we're going to get 50 cents on the dollar, but like, we're going to get rid of John Collins. We're going to move Jordan Clarkson. We're going to move Colin Sexton, and then focus on like the younger guys. So to me, I think this is going to be a team that is going to be sneaky good, especially early in the season.
Yeah, and we've kind of seen that the last 2 years in a row. Like, I think this is a team you can actually look to play early in the year before they, wave the white flag, go for Cooper flag. I think you play them now and then fade them later once it's become clear where they're headed. Once the old Lowry goes on the IR stint, where we're headed from after that. But I think for now, like, I like Taylor Hendricks here. I love to watch the young guys on these teams. He looks ready. Keontae George, no turnovers, 7 assists. That's nice. 3 of 18 from the field. That's not so nice. Got to work on our finishing at the rim. But, I think it's a fun team. I think it's a team, as far as number 25 in our League Pass rankings, maybe we're a little low on them. However, moving into our next tier, as I call it, the ladies and gentlemen, the East tier, 24 through 18 is entirely East teams, with the exception of one that I think pretty much should be an East team based on how we're thinking about them. So, maybe that's why Utah had to stay out of that one. So number 24, the Orlando Magic. We just talked about this one with the Heat. Simple takeaway for me here, another young guy. I like Anthony Black. I think Anthony Black looks ready. I think he's a real contributor. He had 10 points, 6 rebounds, 4 assists. He played controlled. Like, you hear about the game slowed down for you. The game, I think, has slowed down for Anthony Black. He looked like he knew what he was doing out there. He's always a really good IQ guy at Arkansas. He is another dude for Orlando that's big, defends, handles, and creates. Like, that's the thing that they're doing. And now they got another guy that can do that. And they still need some guards to stick out there. Like, we're waiting on Jalen Suggs to make that next step. Cole Anthony, will he get there? Like, we're one guard away, a really good guard, from the Magic being a lot more interesting to me. And I like Anthony Black. I thought he was, made some nice impact there. So, that's where the Magic are headed. Not a team that you or I was super excited to see. Team that I can't see, even if I wanted to. My local Chicago Bulls at number 23. I literally cannot watch this team. Comcast is located out of Chicago, and they don't carry the channel that the Bulls are on. And I can't watch them on League Pass because they're blacked out because it's the local team. So hashtag blessed, can't watch the Bulls. You watch the Bulls play the Pelicans. What'd you see?
Zach LaVine looked pretty good. And I think, Matt Moore has obviously been talking about this extensively for the past years. He's been talking about this. He's like, DeMar DeRozan was holding Zach LaVine back. And first game, Zach LaVine goes out and puts up 27 points. Pretty good effort. And I do wonder, like, if that is like legit, like if that was a thing, like was the spacing all jacked up? Like, was the ball sticking a little bit? Can the offense flow a little bit better through Zach LaVine as like the clear cut number one primary offensive option? On the flip side, you have Josh Giddey, who had like a minus 30 something a net rating. It was not good. The stats looked empty as hell, and like 14 points, five rebounds, 3 assists, like not a great performance for him here in his debut. And there's like a lot of conversation because they didn't extend him. They spent Alex Caruso to get him. The conversation was Alex Caruso's like 2 first-round picks. They didn't extend him, and then you watch this and you're like, maybe it's a good thing they didn't extend him. So it's going to be really interesting to see. I'm a little disappointed from this game that they didn't play Buzelis more, only played 5 minutes. And I get that it was a pretty competitive game with New Orleans, but also like he was awesome in summer league. I think he was pretty good, like in the preseason, the minutes that he got. And I get that maybe Chicago's trying to gun for it, but at the same time, like you have a lot of dudes that aren't really going anywhere. Like, don't play Patrick Williams 24 minutes. Play Buzelis instead a little bit. So that's a little bit of where I'm disappointed with Chicago.
It's good to have someone share my Chicago disappointment. And speaking of the Bulls, the very next team I think appropriately paired with them, the only non-East team in the All-East tier, the Sacramento Kings, who may as well be an East team because, just bring DeMar out West. DeMar is playing right now. What'd you see watching the Kings?
So this game right now, at the time we're recording, the fourth quarter is about to start. It's basically a tie game, and it's been a little interesting because DeMar DeRozan is taking a decent amount of shots, shooting like 45% on twos. Like, is that really what we want? Like, is that good offense? And he's getting to the free throw line, which is helpful, but at the same time, he's got 18 points right now. Not really facilitating for anybody else, only 2 assists. And while De'Aaron Fox is still operating as a facilitator, it's been a little bit of an interesting scenario in terms of the spacing, in terms of the fit on the court, etc. And I don't want to take too much about Sabonis in this game because it's a head-to-head with Gobert, and that's like not necessarily been the best matchup for him. But the one player that I do think has been playing really well, and I'm encouraged to see he's getting the usage, is Keegan Murray. Keegan Murray's got 17 points going into the fourth quarter, 6 for 14 in terms of field goals. He's leading the team in field goals. Wow. That, I think, is probably the most important thing for this Kings team to do. He's like the one player on the team that you probably want actually shooting threes. He's an excellent 3-point shooter, and half of those looks are coming from 3, but he also can put the ball on the floor and get to the rack. So I like that Keegan Murray is getting more usage. That's something that I'm probably looking for moving forward. His home road splits have been a little funky, so maybe try to just back him in the next home game and see how it translates to the road. But he's a player that I was hoping to see take that next step. And I was hoping that DeMar DeRozan, like coming in, wasn't going to like stifle that. And it's seemingly not had that effect just yet.
Yeah, I mean, shouts to Kevin Huerter, can knock down a few threes also. So there are a couple other shooters out there. Malik Monk can shoot a 3 or 2. You're right. Most of the main Kings guys, not ton of threes.
Yeah.
Definitely Keegan Murray is a guy that we thought was going to get like neutered on the shot attempt. So it is nice to see he's getting the shots up. Number 21, the Detroit basketball Pistons. I think the Pistons are kind of fun. I think Cade is here. The Cade star leap that we thought was happening, I think it might be happening. He scored 18 in the third quarter. Just the team looks competent. The team looks like an NBA team for the first time in a while. Malik Beasley and Tim Hardaway Jr., they clearly got those guys to add some spacing. Those two put up 13 3-point attempts between them. That is exactly what they did. They went out and got them. They just look more competitive. They look better. They've got process on both ends. They looked coached, shouts to JB Bickerstaff. They also blew my cover at the end of the game after being in it and up for much of the game. So, baby steps, I think. It's a team that you can bet on. That, let's just say I will probably feel better taking a Pistons spread than a Pistons money line. Young teams got to learn how to win. And I think at the end of the game, we saw them not quite knowing how to close things out. That's all right. The Pistons are not supposed to close things out this year. They should be pushing toward a play-in for a while and then probably coming up short. That's what this looked like. But this looked like a real step for a team from what we've seen before. Did you catch the Pistons at all?
I only caught a little bit, but they did seem to really put it to Indiana. So they're going to be a team that, like, we'll have to see if they can close games, because like they just haven't really been in a situation where they've needed to. They just haven't really been in that situation. So maybe that's some of the growing pains, maybe some of the spots that they struggle in this season. But Cade is the real deal. So I think it's going to be a fun year for Detroit fans for the first time in quite some time.
In a while. Number 20, the Toronto Raptors. Too much Emmanuel Quickley, and then not enough Emmanuel Quickley. So he left the game hurt. Toward the beginning, I was like, man, Quick is doing a lot out there. And he was making some plays for sure. And then he got hurt, and I was like, man, they really miss Quick. There's nobody to handle this. I think this team has a no true point guard problem. They've got a bunch of dudes that want to handle. RJ Barrett was out this game. So you lose Barrett, then you lose Quick, and then you quickly lose the game after that. No pun intended on quickly there. But there's just not enough like true handling and creation here. It's kind of this egalitarian thing that they've done. And of course, when you're missing two of the three, then it's not going to go well. But against the Cavs, top defenses that were really hounding, they just kind of could clamp down. And the Raptors did not have enough offense there. 30-point loss to commemorate the franchise's 30th anniversary on the day. So we like that, I guess. But, I wish I had known that before. You could have bet on like an exact 30-point loss for the 30th anniversary. That sounds like a bet. But, we didn't get that one in. Number 19, the Atlanta Hawks. They're your team. They're Jim Turvey's team, but you get them for today. What'd you see with the Hawks?
I think we just saw Trae Young go back to what he was doing in the games without DeJounte Murray. To me, that was the biggest thing. We see him be like the unquestioned like hub of the offense, of like a heliocentric offense, realistically, because they don't have a ton of other like individual shot creators. Like he's their guy. Even like Jalen Johnson is pretty young. Like he's young, he's awesome. He just got the extension. But at the same time, he's somebody that isn't necessarily scoring for himself off the bounce. And this really is just going to center entirely around Trae. 30-point, 12 assists, 5 rebound night against the Brooklyn Nets. I think this is going to be pretty par for the course. Maybe not that type of scoring outburst every single game, but I do think that he's going to be seeing like and facilitating for the team night in, night out at a pretty high level. They have so many different rangy type of players, that a lot of guys that kind of play the same role, right? Like Jalen Johnson, Dyson Daniels, Bogdanovich, Okongwu, Ricochet, DeAndre Hunter. A lot of these guys can be moved in and out, different lineup combinations. So we'll see on a nightly basis, like if they wind up riding the hot hand a little bit. But the one constant is obviously going to be Trae Young. And I think the assists are going to be a little bit more back this year as opposed to last year with DeJounte Murray.
Yeah, I agree with Trae. He looked really good. I really like Dyson Daniels. I thought Dyson looked ready in this game. Like a lot of us at Action were really excited about how he would fit for this team a little differently than DeJounte Murray. Not that he would necessarily be better than DeJounte, but just be a better fit next to Trae and more balanced. He had 5 steals. I just thought like he really looks ready defensively. We saw him at Olympics with Australia look pretty good. I thought a lot of that stuff carried over. So only one game, but I think he could be a really nice addition there. I think that they will be feeling maybe fine about how that trade worked out if he keeps playing like that. I wonder maybe if we put the Hawks a little too low on our league pass rankings, like if they play like this and Trey's this good, they're just a fun team to watch. And I think honestly, our next team, similar because of similar reason, number 18, the Charlotte Hornets. NBA high, 4 straight season opener wins. They're the one team that's won 4 straight season openers. I don't know how. The answer on game 1 was LaMelo Ball. So that's the Trae Young LaMelo Ball thing. Man, LaMelo looks pretty good. When he is healthy, he still has the goods. 34 points, 8 rebounds, 11 assists. He took 12 3-point attempts. That's something that the last time he was healthy that I noticed, that he's become a pretty good 3-point shooter, and on volume too. That the volume really went up a lot. The percentage went up at the same time. Not an easy thing to do. That said, I think the team is still over-reliant on LaMelo. Only one Hornet had more than 1 assist other than LaMelo. That was Miles Bridges. He had 2. So nobody else can create stuff. And we've seen in recent years, LaMelo gets hurt. He's out for a month or 2. The team absolutely falls apart. And they're like, LaMelo, just stay hurt. Let's get a better draft pick again. I'm not sure we found an answer to that yet. But when Melo plays, and when he plays well, which isn't every night, they're pretty fun. And they look pretty good and look like a team that can hang with, the teams in their division, frankly. The Hawks, the Heat, the Magic. I think if LaMelo plays like that and the Hornets play like that, I think they could hang with those teams for a while. Where are you on the LaMelo spectrum?
So I think we need to buy in a little bit more on LaMelo, and you can actually bet LaMelo to lead the league in assists at 40-1. And I think it's worth a play. He had 19 potentials in game 1. So I'm not trying to overreact to a 1-game sample size, but what I do think we can take away from it is kind of like what you said. The rest of the team is not facilitating, period. Like there's just nothing else there. So if he's not running the offense, that nobody's running the offense. So for me, with LaMelo at the helm, we know the ball's going to be in his hands. He's probably the one player that Bridges will begrudgingly defer to, because it's clearly his team, right? It's clearly LaMelo's team. And I think that if we look at the spectrum of where the league is at, right? Halliburton, and we'll talk about the Pacers in a bit, but something about his assists have been a little funky since the second half of the season last year. I know he was dealing with some injury, but then the other answer is Trae Young, who we just talked about. And, if you only have to get through one guy, and Trae's averaged low 10s or so, right, over the past couple of seasons. So I don't think it's a crazy jump for the true number 1 option of an offense that is just run and gun fun, no defense, whatever. And LaMelo can do whatever LaMelo wants. I don't think it's that crazy at 40-1 for LaMelo to lead the league in assists. We don't have a guy that is so transcendently above everybody else right now that it's necessarily worth it's not worth sprinkling on LaMelo at 40-1.
Yeah, and make sure you get assists per game. I think that's what most books will have, but you don't want the full assist because LaMelo is going to miss some time almost inevitably. So make sure to check the rules at your book for that. Okay, tier 3. I call this the what the heck is wrong with you tier. There are 2 teams in this tier, Joe. They are the 2 teams we disagree the most on. So first of all is a team that I had 26th in my league pass rankings. You have them 7th. What in the world? The Philadelphia 76ers are 7th on your list. Before you tell me what you saw, why do you need to see it about the Sixers? What's happening?
I just want to see the guys together. I want to see Paul George. I want to see Embiid, and I want to see Maxey. They were top of the list because I'm I need to see what this looks like. I have to see what this scenario looks like.
And how'd that go in game 1?
Spoiler alert! I might never see it. No, but they're going to be bad, really bad when Paul George and Embiid don't play, because we talked about this in some of the preview stuff, but with this Embiid conversation, is he going to play? Is he not going to play? Is he resting? Is he healthy? What are they doing? Right? Are they going to get fined? You have to you literally have to downgrade the regular season because they're just going to have these shenanigans, but they were awful last year and they had like Tobias Harris, who I think is a pretty good floor raiser actually. So, and they like still couldn't win games when it was Maxey and Harris and, they had Melton, whatever. So I have a lot of concerns about this Philadelphia team on the nights that Paul George and Joel Embiid don't play. I will say Andre Drummond rebounds are going to be like printing cash like for a while, I think, because the number is really high. Like it's 13.5 for today's game against the Raptors, and he is going to blow over that number. I think like that is like he's just a glue. He's just glue for basketballs, for rebounds. So that was why I had them a little bit higher. I wanted to see that trio because I think that it's realistically like it's a title contending trio, but apparently I might not get to see it until the playoffs anyway. So
yeah, I mean, that's part of why I don't like watching them anyways, but I had to bump them down because you just never know which Sixers you're going to get. And
yeah.
I noticed last year, like Maxey, Kelly Oubre, like the guys on the team around Joel Embiid, when Embiid's out, they plummet on efficiency and advanced metrics and everything. Even Maxey, who was a most improved player on his own with Embiid, and then Embiid went out, and I was like, man, you're hanging on for dear life. Like, it really went bad. Even the defense, too. I think the defense drops off more than the offense. The Bucks were 27 of 43 on twos in that game, 63%. Joel Embiid was really good defensively last year, too, and the system is built around him on both ends. So, yeah, it's a big problem when he is out. My team that I'm high on, that you're low on, you have them 25th. I have them 6th. The Houston Rockets. You got to get on board, man. The Rockets are fun. They get all sorts of fun young players. They did not look the part in game 1. They had what I thought was a pretty terrible home opener loss. They go up 18 on the Hornets. No Brandon Miller because he leaves hurt. No Mark Williams. He's already hurt. You're out here losing to Trey Mann and Seth Curry and Nick Richards. Like, that's the closing lineup. And you're losing to that team at home. That's a rough spot. I said this about Miami. I like Houston better, but I don't think the offense is playoff ready. They still can't shoot. They shot under 37% from the field, not just threes. Both teams made the same number of shots. The Rockets took 18 more. So that's a problem. It's good that you got 18 more. It's bad that you lost because you missed them all. There's good stuff happening here. The defense is fun. There's a lot of fun young guys. I'm not sure they really know what they are yet. There's a little Jalen Green sometimes, and a little Şengün. He was cooking in the first half, and then not a lot in the second half. I think they're still figuring this out a little bit. But I want to watch. I want to see them figure it out. You're crazy putting them bottom 6. I got them top 6. Why do you hate the Rockets?
I think it's just that I'm not super interested in watching them. Like, to me, like whenever I watch them, I'm just like, this team feels capped out. I don't know. Like, there's nothing about it that is super inspiring to me. And maybe it's because I just have this long seated thing where I'm like, play Tari Eason and they don't. So, maybe that's what it is, but I don't truly enjoy watching like Fred Van Vliet play. I'm not like a huge Jalen Green fan. So for me, this was a team that was just lower on my rankings for that reason.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Certainly, they'd move up my list a little bit if Jalen Green and Dylan Brooks took the night off. I can tell you that much.
Yeah, for
All right,
sure.
Tier 2. We're in the top half of the league now. The tiers barely even matter anymore. We got half of the teams we just are excited to watch. This is my Tier 2 of the NBA. It's fantastic. Homage to the old commercials. Some of these teams, especially in this like kind of 15-7 range, these are the teams we're going to see a lot of this year into April, May, June. So teams we know pretty well. Not necessarily teams we're going to spend as long on. Number 15, the Cleveland Cavaliers. Not really one player or thing that stuck out. I just thought they looked good, man. I thought their defense looked really good. They played together. I thought the defense was stifling. They felt like a team that is well coached. They feel like a team that has an identity. They know what they are, and they're going to have a high floor night to night. I think they're a team that we can feel confident backing night to night, just playing the spread, playing to get the win. I think defense travels. And, this was a team I was high on regular season win total. They looked the part. They look ready to go. Kenny Atkinson, first game there. I thought they really knew what they were doing. So I was impressed there. Another team in the East that you got to watch against your Sixers, the Milwaukee Bucks, number 14 on the list. What'd you see against the corpse of the Sixers?
I mean, the Bucks I think looked pretty good. The synergy between Dame and Giannis I think was a lot more like significant there, like there this season. Both players played really well. Dame 30 points, 9 boards actually, and 6 assists. Giannis 25 points, 14 rebounds, 7 assists. I think that like duo is clearly like a little bit more comfortable playing with each other this year. And I think that because of that, they can play off of each other. They can lean on each other when one player is having a better day, get better game, or the other one's having a better day. So that was kind of one of the things that I'm excited to see. I feel like the team just never really got it together last year. I think Dame had a lot of off the court things going on going into last season. I think it really just translated throughout the whole year, and then the team was never really healthy. So I think that when you kind of look at all of that, plus the coaching issues, having like a full basically reset button while also putting together some like decent pieces around them, whether it's Taurean Prince, Gary Trent Jr., obviously keeping Bobby Portis, etc. I think that this is going to be a team that is going to be not only good, but like a legit contender this year in the East. So I've seen a lot of it already, but so like that's why it wasn't as high. But I do think that I'm still going to be pretty excited to watch them play on like a nightly basis.
Yeah, again, these are the teams in this range for a lot of them that we don't necessarily need to see it right now because we're going to see them when it matters more later on. I think Dame is maybe one of the biggest swing players in the league this season. If
Yeah.
Dame is still Dame, that changes the outlook of the entire East and how they match with the Celtics, with the Sixers, everything from there. So I think just seeing what Dame looks like night to night for a while is really interesting. Number 13 on our list, the New Orleans Pelicans. We're a little far apart on this one. I got them in the top 10. You're closer to like 20 on this one. I think you're dragging us down on the Pelicans. Although, first game, they trade for DeJounte Murray, fractures his hand, non shooting hand. Per Jeff Stotts, looks like 35, 40 days on average, about 16 games. That's not nothing. That's like 20% of the season. I think Jim Turvey did this with all his negative DeJounte energy all off season. So you got to watch this one. What'd you see from the Pelicans?
I mean, they DeJounte looked pretty good too. Like he almost had a triple double. So I think it's a tough scenario to really assess them, right? Because Zion Williamson didn't play. He's supposed to play, I guess, this weekend. But Ingram looked pretty good, 33 points. CJ McCollum also looked pretty good, 23 points. But we've seen that before where when Zion doesn't play, those two guys play really well. And like now Zion's coming back, and now you don't have DeJounte, who is like an actually good facilitating point guard. So now, like, I'm wondering, like, how's the fit going to be here again? Like, are we going to have some of these same issues that we've watched over and over and over again? Except now, like, we don't even have a center. So I am like a little concerned about this team. And like, I just feel like I've watched them a lot. Like, it's always exciting to watch Zion because he's just
Yeah.
electric, right? But I don't need to watch Brandon Ingram dribble the air out of the ball. I don't need to watch like CJ McCollum play a role that he probably shouldn't be playing anymore. Like he probably should be more of a sixth man. And then now without DeJounte, it's like, like it just feels a little tired. Like they have a lot of talent, but I feel like I've just continued to see it a lot.
Yeah, that's fair. I think for me, this was a team I kept calling the most confusing team to me in the offseason. So I think maybe I just want to find out what it is that's happening there. But you're right.
Yeah.
Maybe we don't really get to find out now that DeJounte's out as well. So we'll see. Hopefully he's back relatively soon. Number 12 from opening night, the Los Angeles Lakers. Bronny and his father combined for 16 points, 6 rebounds, and 4 assists. Bronny just carrying dad out here. What'd you see opening night from the Lakers?
The biggest thing to me was the amount of set offense that they played. Like they ran way more set offense, and it was kind of a tough scenario when you think about it from like last year because that was something they weren't doing. They didn't run a lot of set offense. They didn't run a lot of set plays, and to me, I think that helped. It helps the offense. It helps take a little bit of a load off of LeBron. It takes a little bit of a load off of Anthony Davis because they don't have to create on an individual play basis. It's just that like the plays are creating for themselves. So that's one thing I think that's going to be great with JJ Redick. It seems like that's a trend that he wants in a direction that he wants to go in. And there's a bit of buy-in, which I think is really important. Also, Anthony Davis looked incredible, but that's the way Anthony Davis is. Like when he's on, it's like, oh my God, this is the best player I've ever seen. And then when he's off, it's like, holy God, like why are we paying him like anything ever? Get a rebound. So it's going to be interesting. But look, they basically brought back the same team from the past 2 seasons, saying like, we're good. Like we think this is fine. So we'll have to see how it goes, but they looked better in this game. I'm not super surprised having having the new coach and everything install some offense, but we'll have to see if it translates throughout the course of the entire season.
Yeah, I always watch with coaching. I'm a four factors guy, so I was trying to see like, did the profile of the team change a lot? So this was interesting. Two things: one that changed and one didn't. A change that was good. They had 15 offensive rebounds this game. That was almost double what they averaged last year. They were dead last in offensive rebounds last year. 15 is a nice number. If you got your big dudes out there and you got LeBron and Davis and you're playing like a 4 at the 3 effectively, you got to get some rebounds. Like you got to smash the glass, get some easy stuff, especially because one thing that didn't change, JJ Redick or not, they're still not shooting threes. They only took 30 threes. That was below last year's average, 31.4, where they ranked 28th. Not anyone on the Lakers made more than 1 3. I think JJ Redick led the team in threes in the opener. That's not how this is going to go. So 5 of 30 is not going to cut it. It's worrisome that my Timberwolves lost to that shooting performance. We'll get to them shortly. In between, number 11, the Phoenix Suns, another team that I was watching for coaching, similar to Redick, and I liked what I saw the coaching here. So right off the bat, we saw this in the preseason, 11 threes in the first quarter. Halftime, 23 threes out of 35 shots, 66% three-point attempt rate from the Suns in the first half. Then the second half, 35% three-point attempt rate. Almost half of their shots compared to the first half. It's a lot of halves in a sentence, sorry. They ended up shooting about 50% of their shots on threes, but I'm a little worried maybe that they came out playing the way Bud wanted them to, and then they kind of quickly abandoned when things got tight, and they had to actually play out against the Clippers. They still got 34 free throws. They were awesome at that last year. They allowed only 29 three-point attempts. That's a Bud staple. Not a lot of threes they let up. One thing that didn't fix yet, Bud teams tend to not turn it over a lot. This team brought in Monte Morris. They brought in Tyus Jones. Those guys didn't turn it over. The rest of the Suns still did. They still had 22 turnovers. So that's a thing they'll need to clean up. But I'm kind of excited about what this team can be. I thought Bradley Beal looked really good. Booker had a not great game, fouled out in regulation. Suns won in overtime. Beal looks good. He looks healthy. He looked dynamic again. He looked like an actual 3-player team, not a 2-player team like it's really been since they brought these guys together. You get those 3, you get some point guards, reducing the turnovers. You're shooting threes, you're reducing threes, you get all this talent. I kind of like what Bud's doing here, and if the team buys in, I think the Suns could like really make a push. Do you catch the Suns at all or see any of that?
Yeah, I'm a little surprised that they kind of like gave it away a little bit. Like I thought they were going to win that game pretty handily, and they just kind of let them sneak back in. But maybe we'll just see if they can lock it down moving forward. I echo really all the points that you just made about Bud being able to tighten up some of the margins and give them a little bit more of an edge.
All right, number 10. We're in the top 10 now. My Minnesota Timberwolves. What'd you see from the Wolves against the Lakers opening night?
So I will say now, because this game's almost over, I've kind of had it on in the background, right, against the Kings. The biggest thing is that the ball to me was sticking a little bit, and like the shot profile from Anthony Edwards, I thought was odd. Like he's taking a ton of threes, like he is shooting so many threes, and I don't know if it's because of like the way the spacing is or like in the lane where he feels like he can't get there and like there's better looks on the perimeter or what the situation is. But like we're almost done with this game. He's taking like 14 threes against the Kings. He took a ton of threes against the Lakers.
He was 5 of 13 in the opener. Yeah, I had that note too. He averaged 12 in the season. He was 5 of 13 in the opener. He averaged about 7 attempts the last couple of years. So he's about double right now.
Yeah. So there's probably something actionable, because his threes line's been at like 2.5. So, I mean, if he's taken 10, Like, and that would be even a decline from what he's taking right now. Like,
Yeah.
he's gonna make three. Like, he's a good enough 3-point shooter. So I think there's definitely something actionable there. But the ball, it's like Julius Randle seemed very uncomfortable in the first game, and it just like didn't really know, like, should I take the ball, should I pass the ball, whatever. And then now it's kind of all gone away in this game against the Kings. He's got 33 points on 13 of 16 shooting. So, that's the Julius Randle experience. And I think it's something that is going to take Minnesota a little bit of time to acclimate itself to as they move forward through the season. But, I think their offensive strategy is just going to have to be a little bit different with Randle there and with Anthony Edwards shooting that many more threes.
Yeah, as we're recording, there's 2 minutes left. Randall 33, Ant has 28, Nas has 19. Nobody else is in double digits. So that's a lot of offense on 3 dudes, and I don't necessarily love that for the team going forward. Team that played earlier tonight for the first time, the Dallas Mavericks, comes in at number 9. You had them top 5 on your list. I kind of don't necessarily enjoy Luka Ball all the time. What'd you see from the Mavericks?
I do kind of enjoy Luka Ball, but so, but no,
you love a good Luka though.
Yeah, I do love a good Luka. So it's been. I think it was really interesting to watch them have the amount of 3-point shooting that they have now with Klay Thompson, and it makes me wonder to a degree, right? Like, with the way Golden State ran offense versus the way that offense is run for Dallas, I think it's very different, right? Like, Dallas is not like a perpetual motion type of offense. It's a like, Luka's going to do magic and you're going to get the ball and you're probably going to be open. And I think that maybe that's a little bit better for Klay Thompson at this point in his career. But like Luka, there were numerous times where Luka found Klay and Luka is running back the other way. Like, not even like Klay has the ball and he's like, Luka's not even trying to get a rebound. He's going on defense. That's like the fastest I've ever seen Luka go on defense, is because he gave Klay Thompson the basketball. So I'm pretty interested to see how this goes. I'm excited to see Derek Lively play. I think that, in his second year, maybe he's going to see a lot more growth. He had 6 assists today. And I think that is something where if he's going to start working as like that, like a secondary or tertiary facilitator, maybe from like the high post or from the nail, whatever, I think this is going to be a really interesting spot for the Dallas Mavericks to maybe run some more creative offensive sets. So I'm excited to see them. I like watching Luka Ball, but at the same time, I think it's because the games always seem to be like a little close because they don't always put players and teams away. But that was my takeaway from this game, is that Klay's going to get plenty of open looks, and he only played 26 minutes. So the minutes are like seemingly going to be managed. The only player that played in the 30s today was Luka at 36 minutes.
Yeah, I think we've seen that in a lot of games. I'm just wondering if maybe they're just sort of ramping guys up still as we start the new season. So I don't know what to make of the minutes just yet. Number 8, last team on our tier. We got the 2 teams in the finals go together here. The Boston Celtics. We've seen 2 Celtics games now. What stood out to you about the Celtics? And is it just lots and lots of threes?
Dude, they don't stop shooting threes. It's insane. I will say, though, we gave out, and when I say we, I mean me. I said Peyton Pritchard, 6th man of the year at 100-1 on the pod. And I think it might actually have some legs because he's going to just play in these games that are blowouts. And even besides that, before these games have been going towards the blowout trajectory, he's like still tracking to play like 20 to 25 minutes. So we are seeing him play like a real 6th man role, and on a team where if they want to give like Drew Holiday a night off, they want to give Derek White a night off, like we know he's never going to start outside of those injury type of replacements. I do think there's plenty of opportunity for him to just rack up counting stats, because he's just going to come off the bench and score. He's a knockdown 3-point shooter, and that's all they want to do. So I think that some of his props are going to be really good, especially in games where you're like, hey, this is a double-digit spread. Boston, not only did Boston like blow teams out, like last year they averaged like a 10-point win. Like, so he's going to get in all these games because, like, maybe there's a close one where you're like, they're playing, like the Knicks again, right? Or they're supposed to play like a close game. Maybe he doesn't get as many minutes, but in a lot of these games that could be a little bit further off, I think he could see plenty of minutes, plenty of run. So some of his props might be worth a look as well.
Yeah, that makes sense. And obviously, just the threes stand out. 29 threes on opening night, not just 29, 61 attempts is a massive number, 64% attempt rate. They shot 47% of their shots as threes last year. That went up to 55% in the preseason, 64% in game one. They're going to be chucking. So I think 3-point overs for particular players in that game. They shot 31 more threes than the Knicks, more than double their number of threes. That's going to be a problem, man. If you're getting that many threes up and hitting most of them, that is going to be tough math to overcome. All right, last 7 teams in our League Pass rankings, the best teams. The Denver Nuggets just wrapping up here. The Nuggets lose at home to the Thunder as we're taping. What did you see from Denver in the opener?
The one thing I saw is Michael Porter Jr. took a million shots. He missed like all of them, unfortunately. But like he put up 15 points, but he took 17 shots, which is way more than he like ever takes ever. And I think, and that's a good thing. I think that he needs to be a player that's taking arguably like the most shots on the team, because outside of Jokic, I think he's the best shooter, or like he's the best scorer. Jokic is just obviously a talent. Like he can score however he wants, kind of whenever he wants. But Murray's been inconsistent throughout the season, throughout the past couple of seasons. And Porter is somebody that can catch, he's a knockdown shooter, etc. Christian Brown looked great, was cutting everywhere. 8 for 15 from the floor, 16 points, 7 rebounds, 2 steals, 2 blocks. Like that's exactly the type of guy that you want in the starting lineup alongside of Jokic, who's just cutting around, doing a little bit of everything. And then like Russell Westbrook, pretty good game. If you like, beside the plus minus is bad, but like that's, that's to be expected to a degree. But 5 rebounds, 5 assists in 20 minutes. That's kind of what you're looking for him. You're trying to raise the bench floor a little bit. And I think this is going to be a team that I'm curious to see how they develop, who is able to take the step forward this season. But they're just always so much fun to watch when you have Jokic running the offense. I think what we saw though in this loss to the Oklahoma City Thunder was a really bad shooting performance. They shot 17% from 3, but also Oklahoma City is a wagon this year, and they're going to be one of the best teams. So I think Denver will probably bounce back in the next game.
Yeah, I think so. I kind of dig the energy Russ brought to the team. Just a little needed chaos, right? Like the chaotic evil to just balance the team out a little bit. The Warriors, number 6, number 1 in my heart. Steph is still Steph. That's what I saw. And the rest of the cast is still not good enough out there. They started TJD. I did not expect Trace Jackson-Davis to be starting necessarily. No. They played 12 guys 14 minutes or more. So strength in numbers back, I guess. I think this is a team, what I like about that is I think they are going to have guys bought in. Like Steph plays, Draymond plays, probably Wiggins and Kuminga get pretty good minutes. Everyone else, let's see what you got. Let's see what the rotation looks like tonight based on the matchup. To me, as a bettor, I think that can be profitable if you can figure out the rotation. So maybe not quite yet. We got to figure it out. But you can play Trace Jackson-Davis at center. When you're playing the Blazers, that's fine. You just want to go out and get some points with him. But on another night, you might need Looney at center. Maybe you want to go small and have Draymond at center, get some wings out there. So I think that's a thing to keep an eye on with the Warriors of how does that rotation come together? Who ends up getting moved up in the rotation? Do they keep playing all these 50-minute guys? If that's the case, maybe unders are the way to go. We get about a minute left per team to wrap up here. Saved them for our best teams, too, just the way we planned. The Memphis Grizzlies coming at number 5. Ja Morant, he's your guy.
Yeah, Ja looks awesome. I'm really excited to see him back, honestly. Like, it looks like he's got it together on the floor. And when I'm looking at Morant, I think one of the things we have to consider is the fact that he just dished out 10 assists in this first game. And you can bet on Ja at 80-1 to lead the league in assists. And it's kind of similar to what I was talking about with LaMelo. It's just like it's probably worth a little bit of a sprinkle at that number. Like the number is so high, and he is a clear facilitator of the offense. We've seen Ja like get double doubles. It's not something where you look at it and you're like, Oh yeah, like that's like way too many assists for him. Like that's like way out of line. Like for him to get 10 assists, like it's not super surprising. And I also think that like I think when players like miss time, especially like younger players miss a lot of time, they come back after watching a lot of film. And like for some players, it's like the most film they've ever watched in their lives, like ever, because that's the only thing they can really do is like watch film, learn from what they've like from what they used to do, learn some more coverages, learn more scheme, learn more like where players are on the floor. And for Ja, like if that contributes to court vision, he's going to be an even more lethal, not only scorer, but facilitator for this team, where then like you don't really need to run another like facilitator alongside of him. You could run more scoring threats and like more whatever. And I think that's going to really help this team and Ja Morant as well. So that's one thing that I'm looking for. He had like 19, or I think 19 potential assists in this game with 10 converted. So his assist line is something I'm going to be looking for. The Jazz obviously played a pretty fast pace. So I think there were a lot of opportunities in this game, and this was a close, tightly contested game. But I do think there's going to be a little bit of something to Ja Morant's assist moving forward.
Yeah, and the Grizz want to play her really fast too, and he didn't even play a huge number of minutes. That's another one here where they played 11 guys. Brandon Clark is back. He was 11th in minutes on the team. Scottie Pippen Jr., Jay Huff, Jalen Wells, they're all playing real minutes, even with Jaren Jackson out too. So I think the pace helps your assist overs here as well, and that assist leader play. Guy who's not fast, I thought it was a pretty rough debut for Zach Edey. For Rookie of the Year favorite, first lottery pick that fouled out in their debut since 2007, and he fouled out with 9 minutes left. He played, I think, like 15 minutes. He missed 4 of his 5 free throws. He just looked slow. That not like slow processing. He looked slow. He looked NBA slow, and that is a bit of a worry to me. And, it's not going to be for every matchup, but do you match up with the Grizzlies? Like, if they want to play fast and you're Zach Edey, that's great for the preseason. What happens now? Got to keep an eye on it. We'll see how they look with Jaren out there. Your team, the New York Knicks, come in at number 4. We're sure this is the number 4 most fun team in the league. They were fun for the Celtics on opening night, that's for sure.
Hey, I mean, look, I can't really take too much away from this game when I really look at it, because I mean, the Celtics, they just completely blew them out of the water before the game even started, basically. Like the game was over in the first quarter. They were up 19. Boston just didn't miss a single three. And the one thing that I will say is, like, looking at this though, is, as good as Boston's defense kind of was, the Knicks still were competitive in terms of their offensive output going through this game. They shot 55% from the floor, 36% from three. I do think they need to take more threes, and I think that was kind of the problem. Like, they were really floated by Miles McBride, but I think that they're going to get a little bit more into the offense. I'm encouraged by a couple things. I think that Cat looked good when he got the ball, but the ball like wasn't making its way to him. And I think Boston did a pretty decent job scheming. The biggest concern is going to be that they were looking to put, not only were they looking to put Karl Anthony Towns in action on the offensive side of the ball. When the Knicks were on offense, they were just kind of leaving Josh Hart alone. So that's something that other teams are probably going to do. Other teams are going to pick up on, and the Knicks are going to have to figure out, like, okay, if they're going to leave Josh Hart alone, what can we do to like bring him into the action, make him useful, whatever. And those are all things that I think are going to come as the season progresses. But again, this team is going to be a team that just puts up points. And that's what their story is going to be. They're going to live and die by the offense, and to a degree, what Anunoby, Hart, and Bridges can do on the defensive side of the ball in terms of stopping wings. So it's early. It's one game. I'm not super concerned, especially given the fact that it was against the Boston Celtics.
One concern I did have, only 5 offensive rebounds. That's been a real staple for this Tibbs Knicks offense. Only 1 from the starters. So that was a concern I had, just the way that they were kind of reshaping the team with Towns there also. That was where they got a lot of the free points from in the offense. So that's going to be a gap they've got to close a little bit. Number 3, Indiana Pacers. I think Benedict Mathurin is very, very live for 6th man of the year. He's a guy that several of us were on before the season. He had 19 points on 8 shots, 9 free throw attempts. He's in the closing lineup. He's basically playing over Aaron Nesmith. He's playing over Nesmith, getting the closing lineup. His body looks ready. He was really in Sixth Man of the Year race till he got hurt, a year or two ago. So I think maybe if I had to pick somebody right now after one game, I think he would be my pick. We know they're going to score a lot. Halliburton did not look great in this game. I know you and I
No.
both, we've talked about that a little bit already. If he plays like that, this team should not be third in our League Pass rankings either. Like, this is a Tyrese Halliburton truther League Pass ranking. So hopefully he's just shaking the rust off a little bit, still celebrating that Olympic gold medal that he earned watching the guys do all the work for him. Number 2, the Oklahoma City Thunder just wrapped up their first win of the season. Alex Caruso, I think, is going to be such a good Thunderbolt. Like that's one Thunder, right? A Thunderbolt. That's
Yeah.
what I saw from the Thunder. What'd you see from OKC?
I mean, they really put together a well-rounded performance in this game, and I think that Chet's involvement was very encouraging. 25 points, 14 rebounds, like the dude looks ready. And I think the thing that everybody always talks about or everybody always kind of forgets about with Oklahoma City is the conversations like, oh, well, like, they got Hardenstein so that they can play big, right? I think the thing is, like, Oklahoma City is so good at playing small that it's hard for other teams to play small. Like, who cares? Like, who cares if you have Andre Drummond at the 5? Like, he can't cover Chet. So, like, what are we, it's like, that's the thing. I think Oklahoma City has made a decision to really like lean into what they do well. And I think it's going to be the rest of the league that kind of has to adjust to them. So we'll have to see. Shea looked really good. The assists were there for him. 8 assists. I'm not sure how many potentials, but if he's going to actually run the offense, and then we're going to see a little bit of facilitating even from Chet as well, this is going to be a really interesting year for them. And maybe it helps him a little bit as, he's able to actually take his gravity and like draw defenders in and then be able to kick out to other players and help set up the rest of his teammates. So assists maybe are a look. There was nobody that popped like in terms of on-off assist rate when Giddey played or didn't play last year. There wasn't anything like super significant, and I was trying to see like what was actually going to happen, but it's possible that the answer is just, Occam's razor, and it's just going to be Shea, who's going to have the ball in his hands a little bit more and is going to be able to help facilitate for his teammates. So the assists you have to look for Shea.
Yeah, I like it. All right, number one, who could it be? Anybody else other than the fighting Victor Wembanyama's in the League Pass rankings? Unanimous, easy choice. The Spurs. We saw them finally get their first game of the season against the Mavericks Thursday night, tonight as we were recording. What'd you see from Wemby and all the other guys that had to play with him?
There were definitely some things that I didn't like. Like I felt like he was like literally flapping around at the start of the game. Like it was a little interesting. Like the offensive process didn't seem good. I think he turned the ball over like way too many times to start the game, and I think he kind of reined it in as the game progressed. Right. I do think the Chris Paul minutes are great though. Like when Chris Paul is in there with him, it's like there's a real adult in the room, and it's like he is finding him in the post, he's finding him in the spots that he wants to find him in, and he's also facilitating for like kind of everybody else. And the way that you kind of know this is working out that way, Chris Paul scored 3 points. Like he doesn't even need to look to score. He's just like, I don't care. Like everybody else can score. So I think the fact that they put up 109 points on a Dallas Mavericks defense that was pretty good at the back half of last year into the playoffs is encouraging. But we do have to see. I think I'm excited to see a little bit more Stephon Castle. I think he's going to be really good for them. And I'm just curious to see like which combination of players really fit and mesh around Wemby the best, because like Harrison Barnes played well, but is Harrison Barnes somebody that they're going to want to keep there long term, or is he somebody that is a little bit more of like a flipper at the deadline?
Yeah, I thought the Spurs, I didn't get to watch this one yet. I will watch it tomorrow. But to me, just looking at the numbers, I'm the Spurs backer here at Action Network. I feel pretty good about this, to be honest. This was a bet for me on defense, and I thought the defense looked pretty good by the numbers. The Mavericks were 4th in the NBA in 2-point percentage last year, 57%. They shot under 40% today, 23 of 58 on 2-pointers. That is Wembanyama. That is the defense as good as advertised. What didn't go well is turnovers. They had 9 more turnovers than the Mavs. That's basically the scoring difference here. So the offense is going to be an adventure. They need Chris Paul's help. Wembanyama is still figuring out the offensive side of the thing. Defense, I thought, looks pretty good as advertised on paper so far. By the way, as we were wrapping this up, our man, Keegan Murray, did get one more shot up at the buzzer, missed the three-pointer for the win. The Timberwolves get their first win of the season to go to 1-1. That's it. One takeaway from every game one and a couple of game twos. Let's do it 81 more times. Don't forget to download the award-winning Action Network app. Make sure to follow Joe Delera, follow our whole crew there. Follow all of our apps with a pro subscription. Get those notifications as they come out right away. YouTube.com/The Action Network. You can watch us on video, get the whole thing there. We will be back, of course, all next week with more Buckets episodes every day during the week for the season. I will be back next Friday with another episode looking at some of the surprise teams so far. Joe Delera, thanks for coming on. Let's get buckets.